All right, welcome everybody to the ISTE Young Educator Network podcast. This is episode 10 for March 30th, 2015. This is the show where we talk about integrating technology into the classroom as a young educator. And I'm one of your co-hosts, Robert Pronovost.
And I'm one of your co-hosts. I'm Jenny Schlee-Reed. I'm from Kenosha, Wisconsin. I'm a library media teacher.
Hi everyone, I'm Christy Andre, and I'm a digital learning coach in Tustin Unified.
All right, and we are so fortunate today to have Jenny Magira at Miss Magira. She is the digital learning coordinator for the Academy for Urban School Leadership, a network of 32 Chicago public schools, a White House champion for change, Apple Distinguished Educator, Google Certified Teacher, and a Chicago Public Schools Technology Innovator of the Year. Jenny works to redefine education through technology. She also hopes to transform professional learning, serving on the technical working group for the U.S. Department of Education's National Educational Technology Plan and co-founding Playdate.
All right, so with that great introduction, we're so excited that Jenny's here, and we'll be talking to her in just a little bit. But first, we want to start out with our Epic Yen moments and any good tech experiences that we each had to share from this past month. And mine actually happened last week. I was fortunate enough to be at our Wisconsin ISTE Affiliates Conference, WIMTA, and I got the chance to present. I both did their Ignite session, which turned out really well, and then I got a chance to present about promoting inquiry-based learning through the use of iPad creation apps, and it was received really well, had good attendance, and so that was a lot of fun. So that's my moment of the month.
Very nice. My moment of the month actually was hearing from a colleague who went to Jenny's keynote at Q, and just throughout the keynote and throughout her entire time at Q, I was getting texts from her the entire time, and it was just so incredible that even though I was not able to experience it, just how much excitement and growth that she was finding just in those few days.
That's so awesome. I'd say for me, definitely going to Q, but then also just I've been working with one elementary school, and the principal has challenged them to start project-based learning in every grade level. And I've been able to work with them and being able to see like kindergartner teachers plan how to research, and they made like a thing link with a butterfly in the background because the PBL is on butterflies, and then they added links to like videos and research sites all over the thing link, and then shared that out on the iPads so that kindergartners can research for their PBL. So it's just been really cool to see everybody at each grade level do something different.
Wow, that's really cool. And so if you are also a young educator, remember that you can always join us on the Young Educator PLN community, which is our online ISTE community at iste.org/YEN for yen, to connect with other educators from around the world and share stories like those and things that you have to share. And remember, our hashtag is EpicYen, and we look forward to hearing from you. So without further ado, let's head into talking with our special guest, Jenny. And I actually have the first question for you. First of all, I wanted to focus for all of us on the upcoming conference, the ISTE 2015 conference. And wanted to mention that later on in the broadcast, we will be sharing with you the link to submit if you're interested as an educator in applying for the Ignite sessions, and that's due on April 6th. And today, my first question is to Jenny, because I had the opportunity last year at ISTE 2014 to actually see you present during the Ignite session. And so my question to you is, what was it like to present during the Ignite session, and why would you encourage others to consider presenting at an Ignite session?
Oh, wow. Well, thanks for having me on. So I'm probably not the right person to ask right before all the submissions are due. I was so scared. It was probably one of the hardest presentations I've ever done. You know, keynoting in front of thousands of people at Q was less scary than doing that Ignite. And I don't say that to scare people away, but it's really structured. So for those of you who've never done an Ignite before, basically what it is you have a set number of slides in 5 minutes. I think it's 20 slides in 5 minutes. It's 15 seconds a slide. Is that right? And it goes without you. So if you kind of miss a beat, then you like miss the entire train. And I think my advice would be not to be so control freaky and OCD like I am. I'm so OCD, and it was really hard for me to not have control of my slides. And I like to kind of Adam Bellow my slides. For those of you who saw Adam Close a few years ago, like with all the transitions and like 14 slides in 1 second to make all the magic moves, and you can't do that at all in an Ignite. So after the fact, I've done a couple other Ignites, and what I realize is come up with your story. So have like 2 or 3 short stories that you're going to tell. And 3 is kind of hard, but if they're quick, you can get away with it. So I had 3 stories in mind. And have your 15 or 20 slides, or I think it's 20 slides, be a little bit more vague. So I had really specific slides, and like they'd be a punchline. I'd be like, and then boom, slide, ha ha ha, that's so funny. And while like that's kind of my jam in a regular session when I'm presenting, you can't do that in an Ignite. My friends who are a lot less stressed had slides that had basic themes for like 30 seconds or 45 seconds, and so if they missed a beat, it was okay because the slides were just happening as visual reminders in the background. And so I think it's a lesson that we can take to our classroom, right? Like in the words of Queen Elsa, let it go, and be willing to let go of some of the control and focus on your story and not the visuals as much, and it's a lot less scary. I focused way too much on my visuals.
Well, it was a fantastic Ignite, so I thank you for doing that for all of us. And so now a little bit less high pressure, thinking about just tips for new young educators when they want to connect with other educators, or perhaps just tips for young teachers in general.
So obviously Twitter is great. I was really new to Twitter just a few years ago, and I remember being at a conference and seeing everyone was like on their computers doing something the whole time, and I turned to someone next to me. I was like, "What are they doing? Why are they taking notes? What's going on?" And they're like, "Oh no, they're using Twitter." And I was like, "Isn't that just for like Kim Kardashian to tweet pictures of her booty or something? Like, we're teachers. We're at a teacher conference." And so I didn't really get it. I kind of got on that train late. But now that I'm in it, doing Twitter chats is really great. And it's really fun when you get to meet people in 3D. You're like, "Oh my God, I know you from Twitter." And then you mix up who you've met in 3D and who you just like think you know. Like I'll walk up to like Robert and be like, "Hey man, remember that time that we had dinner?" And he's like, "That never happened." I was like, "Did I make this whole story up in my head of how we're best friends because I talk to you on Twitter all the time?" And so like that's really great because when you walk into a room at a conference, it used to be kind of scary. It was like the first day of high school where you're like, "I don't know where to sit. I don't know anyone." And now when I walk into a conference, I'm like, "Oh my God, you're Mathy Kathy, or you're Tech Sherpas. Oh my God." And so like all these people I know as their Twitter handles, and getting to meet them in real life is like meeting celebrities, and they're classroom teachers, and so they're all really friendly and nice. So definitely participate in chats, make friends, don't be shy, and talk to strangers at conferences. If you're at an ed tech conference, everyone's your friend. So don't be shy to turn to the person behind you and be like, "What up? I'm Jenny. I like math. What's your name?"
And I'd say that was one of the best moments during your keynote at Q, was that you got us to meet a friend, and I totally met this nice lady next to me, and she hated technology, which was really fun to talk to her at a technology conference. But so thank you for doing that, because that broke up the keynote and made it fun and interactive. And so the next question we have for you is that you presented at a variety of conferences like Q, and we just wanted you to discuss your presenting experiences and why educators should consider presenting at conferences.
I think that it's really important to share your story and to talk about what your kids are doing. And I really like presentations that tell student stories and not just how-to. So it's not just like, "Here's how you use Gmail," but here's how my kids use Gmail and why they dig it and what they hate about it and what they love about it. And You know, start with the student stories. And I think that as teachers, often we can get siloed so easily. So, you know, I go in my classroom, I close the door, I teach, and sometimes I open the door when it's not too crazy loud. And my classroom's always loud. And I think that it's really hard. It can be sometimes a little bit lonely, because then you want to know what your colleague across the hall is doing, because you know that there's magic happening in their room. But the cursed fate of, you know, block scheduling is they teach when you teach, and they're on prep when you're on prep, so you don't get to go see what they're doing. So conferences are a great way to deprivatize your practice and get collegial feedback, but also hear stories from other people's classrooms and to share your students' voices. So that's really boss, and I love it. And it's also a great way for you to kind of shine. I think that a lot of time teachers feel like they can't be a star, they can't share their work, and it's okay to be proud of what you're doing. You have the hardest job in the world. You should be ready to like rock it out and be like, hell yeah, I'm doing this, and I'm proud of it, and my kids are happy. What? Mic drop. Teachers are rock stars, and I think that they should do that. But with that being said, I think it's important to practice good pedagogy and to practice what we preach. So I think that a good presentation, whether it's a keynote or a workshop, should be a little hands-on, a little fun, get participants talking and moving. That's why I did that selfie activity, Christy, and I try and break things up. You want to make sure that the audience is having fun, whether there's 5 of them or 5,000. So keep that in mind.
Okay, so I want to go ahead and ask the next question. You're an Apple Distinguished Educator and a Google Certified Teacher. What role have these professional communities played in your career?
Good question. So, actually, that's where I learned how to use Twitter, was at the Apple Distinguished Educator Institute. That was the conference I was talking about, where I was like, what's going on? Why is everyone on their computer all the time? And so that was my first foray into Twitter, so there's that. And then meeting people, just being, it's like they're both geek camps. So like for a while, especially as ed tech people, sometimes you feel like the crazy person on your weird island of lunacy in your school. A lot of us are the only ones doing what we're doing in our building. And if you're lucky to have a group of people, like it's probably your like weird fun crew. Being an ADE and a Google certified teacher is like getting to the island and being like, oh my God, you're all totally nuts too. We're all best friends right away. And so it's like summer camp for nerdy teachers, and everyone's best friends immediately. You do all the dorky things that other people on your staff might roll their eyes at, like, you know, do like sing-along songs and, you know, ed tech karaoke with iPads. And it's a place where you can really let your freak flag shine, but also be proud of being a passionate educator.
Oh, go ahead. I had a quick follow-up question.
No, go ahead.
How do you encourage teachers who are maybe afraid to go and maybe don't have friends? I've experienced a lot of teachers who it just takes me a lot of pulling them. How would you hook someone into going with you, perhaps?
Are you saying someone who's shy and doesn't want to apply, or somebody who is afraid of technology?
Afraid of technology specifically.
So I don't think AD and Google Certified Teacher would be the right places for someone who's afraid to do technology to go to yet. I think that's some place where, like, when you're rocking it and you're in your zone and you want to find other people who are equally geeked and passionate, that's the right community for you. If you're afraid of technology, I think what you need to do is, I talk about these teacher IEPs, these innovative exploration plans. And I encourage my colleagues who are afraid of tech to not start with the technology, but to start with the problem of practice. So what keeps you up at night? What is that janky thing in your educational world that is just, the stone in your shoe? And it could be parent communication. It could be kids turning in homework. It could be really, boring black and white stuff like that. But then what I'd love to see is, how can technology be a solution to that? So parent communication, there's great things like Class Dojo, obviously. There's Google Forms. There's creating websites, getting kids to turn in homework. There's a lot of ways that you can have kids digitize that process, even if they don't have access to devices at home. And so I think that starting with that problem of practice is a really great way to allow teachers who are afraid of technology realize that there is facility in it beyond just it being sexy or cool.
Fantastic. Thank you. So I see you, Jenny, pretty much everywhere, and it feels like you're presenting all the time. I follow you, I believe, on Instagram, and see I think you were just in Hawaii. How do you juggle all of this speaking with your work, and then perhaps with eating and sleeping as well?
I'm really good at eating and sleeping, so there's no problem with that. Well, first of all, I have a 20% time in my job. So I worked it out with my organization to be kind of like a teacherpreneur, and I have 20% of my days where I can go and develop myself by going to conferences, sharing the work of my kids in schools, just trying to be a better version of myself. And so 80% of my work time I'm in schools, and 20% of it I'm out traveling and talking and learning things and bringing them back into our network. For those folks who work in situations that are less open-minded about your work time and work schedule, I think it's really great to think about things like this, like Hangouts. So, I mean, I could be in pajama pants for all you know right now. I'm at home, I'm settled. I mean, I've definitely had like a glass of wine sometimes when I've been on a Hangout, or been like eating some ziti underneath my lower third here that no one can see. I just like turned my camera off. So Hangouts are a great way to amplify your voice, your students' voice, connect with great folks like you guys, but do it from the comfort of your home if you're not lucky enough to have an 80-20 gig like I do. But I do advocate for teachers to think about creative ways to keep one foot in the classroom or with kids and teachers while also sharing their knowledge. I think having a little bit of both worlds is, A, it keeps you credible, but B, it keeps your passion alive and helps remind you why we're all doing this.
That's awesome, Jenny. Thank you for all of that. Sorry, go ahead.
You can hear me now? Sorry, I was speaking and I had the microphone muted. So in looking at your blog and looking at all of your material, a lot of it is for elementary schools. I happen to teach higher ed. What tips would you offer to apply some of those to higher ed populations?
Great question. So when I was full-time in the classroom, I taught 4th and 5th grade, but now I work with K-12 and graduate students, master's degree students. And actually, the most difficult group of kids that I have, oh, look at your cat. The most difficult groups of students I have are my master's degree students. I mean, I'm sure that you can sympathize with that, Echel. So first of all, I think it's like kind of what I said about presenting. I realize that I can't lecture. When I lecture and try and lecture like professors that I remember having, they zonk out and they're checking Facebook and, emailing their kids and family or whatever they do. But when we do hands-on activities and I do project-based learning for adults, they're way more involved. So I'm teaching a course right now, and it's 100% project-based. Every activity is building on to the next, and our final is a big project. And it's harder for me to grade, for sure. I would love to have like an automated Scantron. I'm like, 147 grad students. Actually, that's what I'm supposed to be doing right now, is grading their final. But the end result has been really powerful for my students. And so I'm taking all of these same things I did with my 4th graders and doing it with my 40-year-old. So, video differentiation, using Padlet and Pinterest boards to have them pin ideas and have conversations, back channels, Twitter chats for sessions. Basically, we practice what we preach, and I can get them to use the tools that I'm trying to teach them to participate in the class. I'm killing several birds with one stone, and it's more fun.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Jenny. So right now we move into our third segment of the night, which is our favorite recent ed tech tools. One that I have been shared with actually a couple of my colleagues. We had recently, a couple days ago, we just had our own little cool tool to share out in our district. And one that was shared out was called Easily. That's easel.ly. And you can make really simple infographics using that. And so that's just a pretty cool website. You don't even need to create an account to start working on that first infographic.
And mine, working with students, with elementary students, I'm primarily with K through 5. One of the ones that I know has been around for a while, but I never really looked at until recently, actually this week, was Shadow Puppet EDU. And what I really like about that one is the students, as you know, they can create their story or share their information, but it's very contained within that site. You can do searches using like Smithsonian and some different art museums and different images that are already copyrighted. Copyright free, excuse me. And so that's just really nice for the students because they can create right within it, and it gives them so much time to record on each picture that they're doing. And then, of course, you can use it in App Smash and put it in to your book creator or into an Explain Everything or whatever it is that they're using as alternative apps. But just another great tool for them to show their thinking and show what they've learned through research and stuff. So right now I'm working on that with my second graders and third graders. They're using it for Women's History Month and the different people that they've been researching for that. So that was my pick this month.
I love Shadow Puppet. That was actually one of the apps that we just presented at Q with, and the same company just came out with Seesaw Learning Journal, and you can actually dump your Shadow Puppet into Seesaw, and then it's just a great way to kind of it's like it shares the whole journal either to the whole class, and it keeps all their work in like one place, which is really fun. Cool. My other one is Osmo, and it is playosmo.com, and they're around $80, but they're the cool. Has any of you guys seen an Osmo? They're the coolest. Yeah. I love it. So they have 4 different apps, and they're pretty new, and they whenever they come out with a new app, it'll be free as long as you own the Osmo. But they have like a Tangram app where students, basically it covers the camera on the iPad, and then it takes that image, like you can put Tangrams in front of the iPad, and it'll take a picture of that image and kind of tell when your Tangram is made. But the coolest app just came out is Masterpiece, and what it does is you can take a picture, and then it basically etches and outlines that picture, and then the student can draw around the picture that they just outlined. And so they're basically creating this masterpiece, and they can pull in like another image and create something with it, and then it creates a video to share, and then obviously the picture that they actually made. But the video for it, and I think we're sharing the playosmo.com link, is amazing, and it'll make you cry every time because it's like this sweet little girl drawing her dad, and then it like creates this whole video of her drawing her dad. So watch it; it's a good one.
Thank you. One of my favorite discoveries recently is Twinery, twinery.org. I use it for creative writing. So, and I teach higher ed ESL students. So, oftentimes when we have to do some kind of creative writing, they just kind of sigh and we have to do writings. But Twinery, they basically take the concept of choose your own ending or the next step, and it gamifies stories. So they'll start with some kind of event, and then you can choose what to do next, and they just write it out. And they get so into it that the last time I used it, maybe about 2 weeks ago, because we just had spring break, they just said, we're doing it again? Yes. And these are all freshmen to 21-year-olds, and they're so excited. But it's fun. It's fun. It kind of gamifies creative writing for them.
So I really love Dash and Dot. I mentioned them in the keynote at Q, and I'll just share my screen really quick because it's really cute to see them too. So have you guys seen these? They're like little coding robots. So what I really love is we're working on more with coding with our kiddos, and we're trying to do it K-12 now. And the hard thing is with kindergartners and even our older students, it's so intangible. It's a really hard thing to wrap their head around, is like what coding does, and the output isn't really physical. So what I love about this is, like Osmo, I love that you brought that one up, Christy, is it brings the digital world and tangible world and brings them together and gives that kinesthetic feel. So kids get to take Dash and Dot. Dash is this little tripod dude, and Dot's this little girl right here. I don't know why we decided Dash is a boy and Dot's a girl, but it is. But anyway, they use the app Blockly, and it's like Scratch, and they code, but then Dash and Dot physically represent what the kids are doing with it. So unlike Scratch, where it's like a little cartoon character, they get to physically see it, and they could get Dash and Dot, they can program them to play the xylophone, to build Legos, to go through a maze. So right now my kids are working in our Maker's shop right now to build a physical maze out of cardboard, and then they're going to code dash and dot to move through the maze, which is really great. And so I think this is a great introduction to coding. It helps kids understand what coding is and why it's really cool, and it has that whole robot feel, and they're super awesome in real life. Their eyes blink, and they can make noises like elephant noises or pig noises. And then what we're going to do from that is Blockly is block coding, so it's not real code. So Scratch is like that. There's a lot of coding apps that are basically like this, like repeat, forward, transport, left ear. But then CodeMonkey, I just learned about at South by Southwest EDU, is actual coding. It's not block coding, it's real code, but it works like Blockly and Scratch. So they can drag and drop pieces, but they're learning the actual code, which is really, really cool and allows the kids to move forward. And what I also like about CodeMonkey is that it's a full curriculum. So unlike Blockly and Scratch, which are kind of like, here's a cool tool, play with it, which is absolutely a fabulous way to teach. Sometimes you want to have a scope and sequence so that your kids know how to be scaffolded through the ideas, and CodeMonkey does that for you. So I think that if you're letting your kids play in Blockly and with Dash and Dot or Scratch, and you're ready for the next level, you can move up to CodeMonkey after that. So this is going to be our iteration, Dash and Dot with Blockly, and then CodeMonkey for the win.
Very nice. We actually have that. We just added a few dash and dots across our maker spaces, so I definitely will have to check out CodeMonkey this week as well during our spring break. So thank you. I do want to give a little shout out. I heard that we shouted out to Kristen Sirocco last time, and we again would like to shout out to her. She shared with the Epic Yen hashtag a prototype that her students built, and then that they were analyzing some Shark Tank feedback. So way to go on that work in your classroom, and really trying to bring the kids into this world of innovation and creation. So thank you, Kristen. Also a shout out to John Carippo and Craig Yen, who were doing some live tweeting during our last Hangout on air. It was quite fun to have a little bit of banter going back and forth during our Hangout.
And if you'd like to be featured in our next Hangout, you can tweet us and use the hashtag EpicYen, or you can also post a reply on our discussion board on our online community at ISTE.org/yen.
And with those shout-outs and feedbacks, we have session workshops, sessions, keynotes, etc. Join us on our Google Plus community and our ISTE communities to stay connected, to share what you're doing, and to find out what everybody else is doing as well, all the great stuff that's going on. We'll do another Google Hangout next month on Monday, April 27th at 5:30 Pacific Standard Time. And real quickly, the link to doing the ISTE conference, if you're interested in doing the Ignite session, you're going to want to go to isteconference.org/2015/program/participate.php.
All right, and I'm throwing that into our showcase right now. So thank you, everybody, for listening to the ISTE Young Educator Network podcast, and thanks to the crew. I am Robert Pronovost at Pronovost on Twitter.
Sorry, guys. I am Christy Andre, Christy Andre 2 on Twitter.
I'm Jenny Schlee-Reed at Schlee-Reed on Twitter.
I'm Ishel at IxiePixie, Ixie_Pixie on Twitter.
I'm Jenny Magera at Miss Magera, MSMAGIERA on Twitter.
And thank you very much, Jenny, for joining us tonight. And everybody, please join us on Google Plus and at ISTE.org/yen to connect with us and other young educators from around the world. We'll see you next month, where we'll talk about, not sure. It says insert topic here, so we'll find out what we're going to talk about. Do we want to do a little Epic Yen on our way out? A 1, 2, 3 Epic Yen? So let's try this. 1, 2, 3. Epic Yen!
Epic Yen!
All right. Good night, everybody.